everyone, welcome back to Brownlow Books. I want to talk about those people who read 300, 500, 1,000 books a year. I know, I see the wrap-ups at the end of every year in all the book groups I'm in where people are like, oh, I'm just shy of my goal of 550 this year, and it's like by 3 books, and I'm like, okay, the way you do books, you're gonna get that in an afternoon, like, you've got 12 days. I have some thoughts on how people achieve that, because people are always like, oh my god, how do you read so much? Oh my god, how do you read so much? I could never. I read 50 this year and that was really good for me. First off, I want to say, regardless of how many books you read in a year, it's valid. It is a valid number. You read 1 book, grats, you're a reader. You read 5,000, grats, you're probably insane. No, any number is valid. Any number is. I mean, I have a friend who only reads 12. She gets about 1 a month. That's good for her lifestyle and how much she enjoys it, and that's fine. I can read 50, and that's fine. 1 year I read 76. That was fine, you know? It doesn't really matter how many you read. I am simply always reading those comments of like, how do people read this much? Because just pure interest of how people can read that much. And so I figured out some of the ways that people have done it. And so I just want to share some of those ways so there's like less confusion of, oh my god, what? So those people who are reading hundreds of books a year. Number 1, some people include children's books. I read a children's book, I include it because I don't have children. So I include it. Pepper, come here! So if they're reading, 2-3 children's books a day to their kids, they include it, which is absolutely fine. Often when I read a children's book, I then up my challenge by 1, but that's just me, because I'm like, oh, it's a children's book, it took 10 minutes. Maybe I want to push myself a little harder, I up it. You don't have to. It's perfectly valid to read a children's book. There's a lot of attitude about children's book. There shouldn't be. So, there's some people who do that. There are lots of people who read, short graphic novels, manga. I think some comics can even be included on Goodreads. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But if they read a lot of manga, you can read, a whole one of those books. They're usually as thin as your finger. They can be read in an afternoon, or they could read, 6 in a day if they have the whole day to just read, So there's definitely shorter books like that. There's some people who enjoy reading all of the shorter stories, the novellas, all that kind of stuff, where you're not hitting more than 200 pages in a book, so you can knock it out real fast. Same goes for a middle grade book that's not that long, not going to be too involved for an adult to read. So it's a matter of length sometimes for some people, and that's perfectly fine. Still, everything is perfectly fine. It's just, there's so much attitude around all of it. 3, this is the one I see the most often. Some people have jobs or lifestyles that allow them to be listening to audiobooks pretty much constantly. Most people that, listen to a lot of audiobooks, read them frequently, aren't listening at 1 time speed. They're at, 2 times, 2.5, 3 even. I saw one person that said they read it 5 times the speed, and I'm like, does it even go up that high? What? So there's that. If you're doing a job that's, pretty mindless, you can do it. You don't really have to pay as much attention. You can do the audiobook and that at the same time. Why not do it? So you definitely get some numbers there, because now it's probably going to be quicker if you can do the whatever extra speed on it. So you could do 2, even 3 books a day, depending on what it is. There's a lot of people who say they do, when they're cleaning, doing laundry, all that kind of stuff, driving, that's when they're listening to audiobooks. So they still get that reading time in, even if maybe the rest of the day is too busy. So you can knock them out faster that way. You're still taking it in. You could still discuss the book. You could still, remember all the things about it that you want to remember about it, even though you're not reading it, an audio, physically in your hand. I mean, audiobooks are absolutely valid. So those are just basically the 3 biggest ways that I have seen people, get those high numbers. I mean, you're absolutely valid if you only want to read 1, 2 books a year. You're still a reader. That's still fine. It's not a competition. I know a lot of people treat it like it is. It's not a competition. I mean, I haven't set a goal for this year yet. I'm thinking, I don't know. But I mean, all reading is valid. Whether it's a children's book, an audiobook, manga, like it's all fine. So that's how I see most people when they respond to that, oh my god, how would you read so much in a year, with what they're reading. It's perfectly fine. So, if you've seen other ways, if you have your own way, I'd love to hear your way, because I love to see how people read differently. If you have any thoughts, if you've seen like, oh, one person said they do this, drop it down there in the comments, let me know. I'm always interested to learn how other people read, because like, it's such this universal thing that everyone does differently. So, that's it. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you around next time.